My life be like, yeah. My life be like, yeah.
Good morning, Pops the Paladin here, and I'm here with a subscriber request for some Mythic pluses. This week I'm going to show you Mythic plus 15 Maw of Souls. This particular week it is skittish, which means threat means absolute jack diddly squat as a tank. So they brought me along as Pop Paladin, obviously, because my AoE is strong, my DPS is high, so it's a lot harder for people to pull off aggro. However, we did bring a Demon Hunter who absolutely smokes me in DPS, so I still had to have my taunt on cooldown. This week is also teaming, so we have more adds, meaning we have to kill more throughout the entire dungeon. And of course, that always sucks as well, because you're just doing more for the same thing. And finally, anything over 10 is fortified, so all adds have 20% increased health and do 40% more damage. Keep in mind that at a Mythic plus 15, mobs are already doing 198% increased health and damage to you, so everything's already hurting. I'm going to give you a forewarning here while watching my video. You're going to see my team switch from Demon Hunter, Warlock, Hunter, Shaman, myself, and a Druid is going to step into place with my Hunter because I forgot to click record on my third run through with the team as we're trying to get everybody their 15s this week, so we just kind of kept failing at it in order to make sure that we can get 15s without pushing it higher and higher and higher, because Maw is the shortest dungeon to do in here at 24 minutes is the normal run. A 2-chester is 1912 and a 3-chester at 1424. If you don't feel like watching the entire video, you can jump to any of the bosses up above, Ymiron, Harbaron, and Helya as well. Things to keep in mind for a specific build: at anything over 15, you should be stam flasking. I recommend Last Defender because we are going to be pulling lots of mobs together, and the more mobs that are around us, the more damage we do, and the less damage we take. Now, I do believe that the diminishing return is at 12, but you shouldn't be pulling 12 at skittish and teaming. You're looking more to do that at sanguine and overflowing. Part of the trinkets that I use Persia's Medallion, which gave me an additional 2000 stam and a life save-ish at below 30% health. And Phantasmal Echo, I have a high one with haste and avoidance on it, and it's also a damage reduction. Problem with that is I feel the more stamina I put on, the less strength I have, the more of a mana sponge I become. As we jump right in here to Ymiron, the Fallen King, he's a pretty darn easy guy to deal with. One, get out of his Screams of the Dead because it will fear you, and when he fears you, inevitably he's going to follow right up with Dark Slash, and always have a personal CD, at least a Shield of the Righteous, ready for this, because it can one-shot you at Mythic 15 plus if you aren't at full health. On skittish, of course, when he summons his skeleton adds, we want to make sure that we have Blinding Light up and ready, as well as Eye of the Tear. You aren't taking too much damage, so you don't have to throw Eye of the Tear out at him just to have a flat damage reduction. We can actually save it for an AoE, just to try to minimize the amount of taunting that you need to do to make sure your teammates don't die. Outside of not getting one-shot by Dark Slash, Ymiron is really, really darn easy. You don't even have to lust for him. You can lust for that first ad pack before him, just to make sure that you burn through mobs faster, because it is Fortified week and they are harder than the boss themselves. So there you go. Now, your raid makeup, whatever you really want to do in terms of what you bring, I strongly recommend a Demon Hunter and a Warlock for their AoE stuns. Helps out a lot with Fortified as we go through there. Kind of jumping down here, here's where you see me swap over for my Druid. That pops in as my healer, and my Shaman now goes DPS. This is a completely different run, bear in mind. We were trying to get people all of their 15s for the week. If you do finish a a 15 for the week. You get 900 item level in your chest guaranteed, so strongly recommend doing at least a 15. Even if you fail it in terms of the timer, just get it done so that way you can get that piece of gear. If you want routes or anything like that you can particularly run, Maw is easy, just stay to the left the entire time, but there's a website out there that gives you some good advice, and that's https mythicpl.us, and I will put that link below as well. And it'll give you a calculator for how many mythic pluses you need to run, pluses plus a few routes if they have some, and if you don't know them already. Now when it comes to actually clearing out this bottom section, we do have to make sure that we grab the right pack for teaming, and if you don't have teaming, you can grab the right pack and then continuously run down the left hand side and ignore the rest of the ads. For me, the ads to our left is actually going to be the hardest hitting for me. The Sea Cursed, whatever, Switchblades or whatever they are, they hit pretty darn hard, so I saved my cooldowns for them in order to survive, but you do also have to watch out for the barrels that some of these guys throw. If your teammates are paying attention, they will blow you up, and that kind of sucks. The thing about Mythic Pluses is you want to make sure you have a core group, you all understand the routes that you're running, and how you are going to proceed even before you come up to a section. So just, if you aren't sure, talk it through as you're going about doing it. And try to have a pretty decent makeup. For a skittish week, you kind of want to have almost all range and just one melee, so that way there's less things to taunt. You're going to see here a couple different times where that still didn't help us at all. But you know, Mythic Pluses are kind of fun. I enjoy doing Mythic Pluses. I don't do as many as I should do. I don't do as many as, you know, is really required of me. I'm only a weapon 48, that's my AP. And according to, you know, the math that they do, I still have to do 90 Mythic plus 7 through 9s, which it's a lot to do, especially maintaining, if you want to keep maintaining world quests throughout the whole thing. But it does give something to do. I do like the unique aspect of it. It's very Diablo-esque, which I do enjoy running greater rifts in Diablo, so same thing here. You just have to rely on more friends as opposed to soloing those. For this dog pack, make sure that you have an AoE stun, and you should try to be chain stunning as much as possible, using war stomps if you have it. I know it's only like a 1-2 second stun, but anything and everything helps. Group up, don't stand apart from one another, or encourage your group to stand with you, because if one person's standing far out, all of the dogs are going to jump to them and it will most likely kill them. But if everybody's grouped up, then the dogs jump to separate people, and that makes healing a lot easier. For the Watcher, you want to pot for this one, so you're going to pot, burn your DPS cooldown if you have one up. Hopefully you do, because you don't want to take more than 2 lightning phases, because it will probably start to kill people as the healer's having a hard time maintaining with you. So, you know, you just kind of pot through here, burn it, and move on. With the gigantic Grimewalker, point him in a corner and let him spit on you, and make some space for your melee guys as you're coming through here. A lot of times you're going to see here, I'm burning my Shield of the Righteous on cooldown. I inform all healers that run with me, do not cleanse me. I have my own cleanse, we're paladins, so don't waste your mana on it. Just constantly be healing me. I will cleanse myself. And then just kind of move around here. Now the funniest part of this one is I actually killed my shaman right there, because I was backing up to get a quick heal, and I stepped right into my shaman, and he actually said, he goes, "Why are you standing next to me?" And then died. He goes, "Oh, I should have moved." So, you know, you gotta have some fun with this too. Maw of Souls is pretty forgiving. You can have a few deaths and still make the timer, unlike some of the other ones where you have to have perfect runs every time, especially like Court of Stars. That one's ridiculous. I haven't been able to get a +3 over a Mythic +10. I can't get 3 chests on it, and especially since they took away that little cheater hack thing where you could jump on the boats and then activate the key. When they stopped that whole thing, it definitely became almost impossible, anything over 10, to get a 3-chester on that one, at least for me and my groups here. When it comes to anything with the champions, it's really good to have a hunter or a rogue spamming their misdirects onto you, so that way you can focus on one of the champions versus toggling back and forth between the two, because inevitably you're going to have one guy focusing on one of the champions, you're focusing on the other champion, and that champion turns, smacks the melee, dies, and then people are asking why you didn't hold aggro. Well, it is skittish week, but it's good to try to bring along a hunter or a rogue, and then just making sure that you're interrupting their fears, because it just really makes things miserable. They fear you, you run away, they smack you in the back and kill you, then they kill your healer, then they slowly work their way all the way down through everybody, and you have just wasted 20 seconds because you wiped the team. And a wipe in a Mythic Plus is very detrimental. As we come up here on Harbaron, things to keep in mind: interrupt Soul Siphon as much as possible, but really it doesn't matter, especially when you're throwing out Avenging Shield. You're going to throw out interrupts without having to really think about it. Try to make sure everybody is stacked on top of you, so that way you can cleave off onto the adds, especially ones that are making the healer's life hell. And then drag the boss around away from all the purple gunk, because it's going to really slow down your melee. Honestly, the recommendation is to not get hit by the axe that he throws out. I don't think I missed a single one of them. I believe I took every one to the face, and my health didn't drop very much. As long as you're spamming Shield of the Righteous on cooldown, you're going to be just fine when it comes to Harbaron. So you just kind of burn him down. Now, when it comes to a Mythic Plus and bosses, a lot of people like to save their cooldowns for bosses, and that's not what's slowing you down in Mythic Pluses, especially like Fortified, Teaming, Skittish. Trash is slowing you down. So what you really need to do is just stop saving your cooldowns for bosses. There's absolutely no need. If this was a raid boss, yeah, obviously we're going to use our cooldowns for our raid bosses, but when it comes to trash, your AoE, your massive AoE as a prot tank, is what is going to help you make that timer. Now, what really helps you in Mythic Pluses is if you have a Memento of Angerboda, and I have a really crappy 860 version, so my other trinkets are way better, but man, if I had an 880 version, that would make this so much easier, because I would get free healing, I'd get free haste. It's just all around, in my opinion, the best trinket available, and I still cannot get my hands on a good one. We pull both champions here on this side, which starts to get us up to our numbers. I smacked the left one for quite a bit, the one that's skulled, and I still can't hold aggro, but at least I had a taunt available ready for him when he did finally break free of me. Remember, just keep interrupting, don't get feared. If you do, don't panic. You do have your shield, your bubble, but try not to use it, because really you don't want those mobs getting out of hand, especially in Skittish Week. It does get hectic. There's a lot of helter-skelter going on here. I do recommend adding taunt to your rotation, which is kind of unusual for some of us tanks. We believe that we can hold aggro on everything, and we really can't. So just trying to get used to adding taunt into your rotation for dungeons, just for skittish / teaming weeks, so you make sure you have a team that's alive at the end of the entire run. Mistweavers in these packs are priority, because they heal, and they can heal up to, I think, 8 million in one single heal, which that would completely negate everything that you've been doing. So just make sure you're focusing on them, at least interrupting them if you aren't killing them, especially if you have a champion in the pack. For us, we prioritize the healer over the champion and just interrupt off him. And just kind of a recommendation. Other people say kill the champion first. Honestly, the bigger he grows, it doesn't matter. The only time where it's important to kill the champion first before the Mistcaller is when it's Raging weak, because the bigger he gets and the lower his health gets, the more he absolutely smacks you in the face. So, you know, that's the only recommendation I would have there. Just really have fun with these Mythic Pluses, and enjoy what you're doing here, because really there's so much grind in World of Warcraft now. You gotta pick flowers for 18 hours a day, you gotta go mine ore for another 18 hours a day just to try to make a little bit of cash on the auction house. And then on top of it, you're trying to do world quests, and you're trying to do Mythic Pluses, and you're trying to maintain a high artifact power weapon just to be competitive with everybody else. I started to kind of just give in to it and just say I'll get whatever I get. That's why I only have a 48 AP weapon right now. I'm not into the pushing to a 54. At a 48 right now, I am missing 6% additional damage, but I'm still parsing in the top 20 on all fights, so it really doesn't matter to me. And you can parse just as high too, with the correct rotation and ideas of, like I've said in previous videos, making sure you're always standing in your consecration, burning your Shield of the Righteous for DPS and not damage survivability, and you'll be just fine. You know what, Maw of Souls, I have run it quite a bit. I wish that the other Mythic Pluses actually were beneficial to run in terms of time/energy put in to gaining the same amount of AP. I would be all for Blizzard saying, alright, Maw of Souls is a 20-minute run, so on a Mythic 9, you might not get 200,000 AP anymore at an artifact power of 25. Maybe you only get 80. And for Halls of Valor, which is absolutely friggin' ridiculous in terms of time frames and how long that takes, maybe they give 150 out total, or not total, 150 per, so you know, you get 300 as opposed to 160 for like a very quick Maw run. And I think they kind of did a disservice to themselves by making them all flat. I can understand that dungeons, you know, vary in lengths and sizes, but when you try to put a burning AP gain on something, you can definitely see that some people just are going to go for the easy route, just like we do. I don't blame them for it. It saves a lot of time. I know on a Mythic +7, we can do this in under 8 minutes on average. So why wouldn't I burn through that the entire time? For Skajal, or Skaljal, or Sheljal, or the guy with the crazy captain hat, what we need to do for him, always make sure that you have threat on him. If you need to taunt on cooldown to maintain threat on him, you need to, because what he does is he's going to apply an ability called Bind to the tank, and it's a bleed effect. Now Bind doesn't stack, but it refreshes, so if we get a DPSer who actually gets hit by this thing, they might not survive it, especially if it's a squishy clothy. Like my Warlock out there, if he got hit by it, he might have some trouble here. As we kill that guy, it doesn't matter if we kill the remainder of the ads, just jump down and start the Helya RP, because it is kind of long, and we're still trying to make a timer here. You see we jumped down at 5 minutes and 50-ish seconds, so we got plenty of time to beat the timer. We didn't have anybody else to carry, so we actually beat the timer on this one. And you notice here I switched to my DPS trinkets because Helya doesn't do a lot of damage to the tank. In fact, I don't really do much of anything for survivability on this fight, because her torrent, as long as you interrupt it, that's not throwing out damage. Her corrupted breath, you can sidestep it, so there's 0 damage on that one. Taint of the Sea hurts only if you stand in it, so you can sidestep that. Almost all of Helya's damage is avoidable, so go ahead and switch to DPS spec. I actually DPS pot when she comes up when we lust, and we kind of go through that. Now here's the problem, and you're gonna see it in just a couple seconds. I forgot to taunt, and it was my fault. We still made the timer, so it didn't matter, but I forgot to taunt, and my healer, who was standing where the the ship explodes, somehow got initial aggro on Helya. I didn't notice it because I potted and I burned through all my cooldowns, hitting Helya. Somehow she still maintained aggro and died immediately. Thank God we had a warlock who picked her up, because you always want to make sure that you have at least one person who can battle res. 2 is better, 3 is unbelievable. But I messed up. You see her standing out there in the middle of nowhere right there, pulls aggro. It's even on my screen too when I select her. You can see it pops up here, Ruru target, Ruru dead. Then I become the main target. My fault, my mistake. Make sure you just taunt, as I keep saying. Put taunt in your rotation here. So we go ahead and we start burning through here. My Demon Hunter now starts picking up a crap load of aggro, and I didn't notice either. And my Demon Hunter falls over after my second taunt. He starts going down, and blammo, goodbye. We have to finish this with only 3 DPS and a healer. At the same time, my healer goes So now my shaman is throwing off heals and I start burning through my cooldowns. But, as I stated, Helya doesn't do a lot of damage. Almost everything's avoidable as long as I hold aggro on her. And you see she does go down under the phase, but she comes back up. We have plenty of time to do it. Even with our highest DPS are dead, we still beat the timer. We one-chested when we could have actually two-chested, but no big deal. Doesn't matter. She still goes down. So all in all, Maul of Souls 15, not so bad. Teaming and Skittish also not so bad, as long as you have high output on your DPS. As you saw, the majority of those fights I was pulling 300, 400k, plus the healing that I'm doing in my quote-unquote survival spec. So I was able to maintain quite a bit of aggro. If you are noticing people getting away, just use taunts on those things that are running out. On major bosses, unlike I did on Helya, but on the other bosses, make sure you have taunt on rotation, and you'll pretty much easy peasy 15. And even if you don't beat the timer, at least you get 900 gear at the end of the night. So hopefully this helps you out a little bit on anything that's high level, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Good luck getting your loot, and enjoy the rest of the day.